In the previous video, we briefly discussed some international treaties and the contemporary developments in international policy framework that isn't only objectively effective but simultaneously cost effective. However, in this video, we will study India's response to the rise in crime against women across socio-demographic categories. We will especially look at the violent crimes and the practical problems associated with our policy framework. In criminology, statistics and research findings, especially robust statistics, play an important role in determining the incidence of crime. NCRB attracts some healthy criticism with regards to their data collection techniques, but it still shows a steep rise in crimes against women in general despite the massive protests of 2012. While this may just be a case of crime reporting going up, certain violent crimes like acid attacks have unquestionably gone up many folds. Although it may not be possible to discuss all the violent crimes, but let's take acid attacks to get a bigger picture from a domestic law perspective. Our focus will be on understanding the development and problems with penal policies. As per data, acid attacks have increased a startling 277% from 572 in 2011 to 2,155 in 2016. This is despite landmark judgments of the Honorable Supreme Court to curb the sale and purchase of acid. But the moot issue here is the failure of Section 326A and 326B of the Indian Penal Code to deter acid attacks. It has failed like various other provisions that have failed to curb crimes against women. An amendment was carried out in the Indian Penal Code in the year 2013 to insert Section 326A and 326B. Section 326A is regarding voluntarily causing grievous hurt by use of acid, etc., and Section 326B is regarding voluntarily throwing or attempting to throw acid. Section 326A carries a maximum imprisonment of 10 years. But why are acid attacks going up then? The answer to this question is a question with limited answers. Despite the Honorable Supreme Court giving robust guidelines in the Lakshmi's case, acid attacks continue to go up. Strong punishment has likewise failed. But as criminologists, we can explore the underlying root causes or the causal mechanisms related to acid attacks. We can then figure out if the legal or the policy framework addresses them or not. Whereas the most important perhaps is the availability of acid in the market. Despite a ban and strict regulations on the sale and purchase of acid, reports suggest that strong acid is easily procurable from the market. This not only goes on to suggest an acute policy failure, but further suggests that merely enacting laws with harsh sentence does no good to the crime graph. Therefore, from a domestic law perspective, it is important that we understand the socio-demographic, cultural setting, social circumstances of a given crime in general, offender, and the victim. Whereas, in the present context, it pertains to crime against women and acid attack to be exact. So going back to the key question, why has the punitive law failed to bring down acid attacks? Even though the answer would require a longitudinal robust research, it is not hard to comprehend that the acid is still being sold in the market with impunity. Another known reason is the abysmally low conviction rates across India, which was only 20%, 20.4 to be exact, in 2016 and so on. But this is merely one side of the coin and a direct causal relation between the rise in acid attack. However, punitive and harsh laws seldom deter offenders and do more harm than good when it comes to offender rehabilitation. Therefore, a harsh sentence is nothing but a political response to a panic attack in terms of policy. It satisfies larger public demand and fuels vote bank politics. It is well known that effective penal laws and policies, as discussed above, require not only robust research, but the triple T technique, that is, targeting, testing, and tracking. The triple T technique is often used in policing, but in my opinion is best suited for any civil or penal policy. Here, targeting denotes addressing the root causes or the causal mechanisms that leads to a crime, that is acid attack in the present scenario. Testing implies research and trials to see the effectiveness of a given policy or to see whether or not a policy brought down acid attacks. And tracking denotes long term tracking of a given policy. For instance, after a ban on sale of acid in market, a special helpline number for women to report a stalking or a rejected lover, as done in Uttar Pradesh 1090, offenders may innovate other ways to procure or produce strong acid. Therefore, it isn't only essential to track and test a given policy, it is equally important to track it for its long term effectiveness, failing which a policy may become obsolete and costly. Therefore, irrespective of our profession, criminology and its tools equip us not only to be far-sighted but also as future policymakers. Lastly, it is important to remember that policies must also be cost-effective. Therefore, in a country like ours, it is further essential that you, me, and all of us collectively challenge the validity of redundant and obsolete colonial era laws and policies where possible. Training government officers, police, prosecutors, etc., on sensitive issues such as acid attacks are equally important. It is essential that we bring the victims of crimes against women in picture and deal with them in a sensitive way. This would enhance institutional legitimacy and encourage other victims to report crimes that go unreported.